In this final tutorial, we'll be looking at how you can use adjustments to speed to enhance the impact of your fight scene. Let's look first of all at the raw footage we can be working with. We'll have it on the left-hand side here on the source monitor. Let's just play it back. It's one long take of the fight scene we've been working with earlier. So we don't want to cut away to any other shots. We want to maintain this long shot, but we'll use some very subtle adjustments to speed to enhance the impact of some of the blows that are traded. Let's start with this sort of roundhouse kick here. Let's have a look at it as it is. There we go. And we'll have a look at the version that I've sped up ever so slightly. I'm just going to zoom in on the timeline down here. And again, depending on what software you're using, Final Cut, Avid, Premiere, they're all going to have different versions of speed adjustments that will usually work on keyframes. And I've laid a keyframe here just before she's about to raise her leg, and I've laid a keyframe here when she's finished the entire roundhouse. If I just put my cursor here, you can see that I've ramped up the speed by about 20%. Now I applied this technique also to this blow here, and again I set my keyframe at the beginning of the movement, and I set my final keyframe at the end of the movement. So I sped the footage up by 30%. I exaggerated it a little bit more than the roundhouse kick we saw earlier. So actually this woman has got a little bit faster. The roundhouse kick here I sped up by 20%. The blow here I sped up by 30%. Just a subtle variation just to show that she can be a little bit more powerful with some blows, sometimes less powerful with other blows. I think when it comes to speed, it's always about adjusting things a bit. If you make them all 20%, things will just start to feel the same after a while. If you make them all 10 or 15 or 30%, they'll all start to feel the same. So the key when it comes to adjusting speed is to actually use different speeds as you go, because of course the truth is when people are fighting, not every blow is going to be done with the same intensity. Some might be 10%, 20, 30. You've got to look at the performance, look at how they're moving, look at the expressions on their face, and decide how much or how little you want to speed up. I just thought on this occasion it warrants a good 30%. And then finally, when we came to the final killer blow, again I set a keyframe at the start of the arc of the movement, then another keyframe at the end of the arc of the movement, and again because it's the sort of final blow, this one I sped up by 40%. So what you see here is a progression of intensity in the fight, but unlike the first tutorial where we increase that intensity through match on action, double cutting and triple cutting and more traditional editing, in this one we've increased the intensity of the scene by increasing the speed of each blow. So the first speed increase was sped up by 20%, the second speed increase was sped up by 30%, and the final speed increase was sped up by 40%. 20, 30, 40. So the intensity of the blows and the movements increases and progresses as the scene goes along. And this is what I was talking about in the first tutorial. There must be some kind of progression in emotion and intensity in the scene. It just so happens that in the first tutorial we did it through cutting. In this tutorial we've done it through speed, but it's really important that you make those adjustments carefully as you go along. If all the blows feel that they're at the same intensity throughout, the scene will start to look flat.